Welcome to the Scoop with Dukes. I'm your host, Philip Dukes, aka Dukes the Scoop. Check me out on Twitter and Instagram at Dukes the Scoop, and please be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. If you have not become a member already, you can go to the description. There are varying levels of support. Hit the button, become a member and a subscriber and a member, and we greatly appreciate it here at the Scoop with Dukes. All right, today this is another AU scoop, and we are going to talk about some sneaky good people on Tulane's current coaching staff. Now, I can't say with any um, definite confidence that Jon Sumrall is the guy, but if he is the guy to be Auburn's next head coach, you start to wonder. Let's go to the scenario which everybody is saying, which is Jon Sumrall as head coach, offensive coordinator to be named, and defensive coordinator DJ Durkin, with DJ having control and probably being the highest paid or one of the highest paid DCs in the country. Okay. In that scenario, you've got a lot of coaches, a lot of positions that you have to fill around, right? And these positions, I don't think are just going to be on the field. I think you got some administrative guys that it's going to be some moving around. Um, Speaking of like the administration part, it's there are going to be people. I think people forget that Auburn had a top 10 class last year with a losing record, which is like unheard of in this industry. There are people in that people are coming to try to poach. So where the on-field staff was kind of under scrutiny and fire, but because of the performance, the administrative staff, the recruiting staff, the personnel department is kind of was on fire last year, right? Um, because you didn't have the on-field results, and you bring in a class like you did. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some movement there, some upward mobility for some guys, maybe some promotions, maybe some new positions created, maybe some guys going to bigger, job titles. So I would pay attention to that as well. Um, let's start with that part. So Tulane has a rising star in their personnel department by the name of Cole Hurd. Um, Cole Hurd is one of the guys in the industry. When I did my research, very well respected, ton of energy, very bright, good with people, speaks the language, uh, able to communicate effectively in multiple scenarios. So Cole Hurd is a guy that I would keep my eye on if Jon Sumrall is hired at Tulane. He's a guy who has ties to Alabama. Um, he's was at UCF with some. We know there's a ton of Auburn guys at UCF at the time. This is the more recent. He was at UCF. A lot of Auburn people have a ton of respect for him. I believe his people are Auburn fans. Grew up an Auburn family. I think he went to Troy. No, actually, I want to correct that. He went to Jacksonville State. Uh, Graduated from Jacksonville State. He was a member of that staff from like 2015 to 2019. Originally from Oxford, Alabama. Um, he has a lot of ties to the area. Been on staffs he's worked the area. A lot of people know Cole. And a lot of people like him. I think this is going to be one of those hires that if Jon Sumrall, I would 1000% expect Cole Hurd to follow in some type of capacity. Um, Another guy on this staff that is really well respected in this industry. That when I talk to guys who, so I know, so when I talk to different people, it was you got to think about the transition that happened at Troy when they got to Tulane. A lot of people on the staff were with Sumrall at Troy, and you were able to bring a lot of your guys with you. But there were guys interviewing for that Troy job and got who were looking at the staff who was currently at Troy, or who was going and who was leaving. So it's some the there's some familiarity with this staff. Another guy I want to talk about is Joe Craddock. All right. Let's pull Joe up. Now Joe Craddock. Now this is another sneaky good one where he does the quarterbacks. He's OC and the quarterbacks coach. Could you see him come as a quarterbacks coach? Maybe maybe he doesn't get the OC, but maybe he comes as strictly a quarterbacks coach. I'm not sure, but he's a guy who, when you look at his history, this guy at one time was the youngest offensive coordinator in the country. He was at UAB, right? Um, SMU and Arkansas. All right, so he's recruited in the SEC, albeit at Arkansas. He has recruited in the SEC and knows what it's like. Was at UAB, right? And when he's from Chelsea, Alabama, outside of Birmingham. Uh, his first job was at Briarwood Christian, right? So he played quarterback at Middle Tennessee State. And when I started doing my research into him, last year he had Darian Mensah, who's really cutting up at Duke right now. This is another guy with a ton of relationships in the state of Alabama. I don't think any of this is by mistake. Now, do I think that he's 1,000% coming? I don't know. But if there was a role for a quarterbacks coach, I could see Joe Craddock filling that role. All of these and everything I'm saying now is hypothetical, just doing a little research, reading some bios, asking around, and I'm looking at guys who could be a potential fit. So remember that name, offensive coordinator Joe Craddock. All right. The defensive coordinator is Greg Gasparotto. Now this guy is super respected in the industry as well. A coach's son. They're from. He played at Wofford. He had a brother that passed away. And God bless his soul. He had an older brother that was a hell of a running back that passed away not too maybe a few years ago. And the Gasparottos, their family is really well respected in recruiting and coaching circles. You talk about a guy now, so I think he coaches the safeties as well. He was at App State. They joke about the Sun Belt, but he's run the Sun. His defense has beat up on the Sun Belt for years. Whether he was at Troy, App State, he's been good. Gasparotto was also the D coordinator at Army. And the year that he was that DC at Army, he led the nation in total defense. Coaches safeties. Is there a spot for him on this roster? I don't know. I think he could be in consideration to remain at Tulane, depending on who gets that job or get a bigger job as they're continuing to win. So that's just another name to remember. Greg Gasparotto, super respected and has done a great job. This guy right here. Now, Evan McKissick, he's your run game coordinator and the offensive line coach. When you talk about being important as far as understanding the lay of the land recruiting, this guy, I think previously he had tight ends. I don't know, so he can coach a multitude of positions. But this guy, McKissick, what was really interesting to me about him was that he began his high school coaching career at Enterprise. So he coached at Enterprise first. Then he went to Colquitt County in 2015 to 2016. If you want two places that you're familiar with, where you know families, where you know people in the school system, where usually know the lay of the land, those are two places you don't mind being good in: Enterprise, Alabama, and Colquitt County, Georgia. All right, so that's just another guy. I want to put that nugget in there for Evan McKissick. There are a ton of other guys that are on this staff that you can see possibly come along. You got Bam. Yeah, do y'all remember Bam Hardiman from University of Florida? He's on this staff. Taylor Pope is the co-DC. He coaches linebackers, but Taylor Pope was a player at Ole Miss. Now he played 4 years. I think his last year he may have started 5 games, but play all 4 years at Ole Miss. So Taylor Pope, remember that name as well. and Bam Hardiman, and another guy is Landius Wilkerson. He played at Alabama State, familiar with the area as well. So there's a lot of ties to the area, and I think it's helped Tulane in recruiting because when you look at what Tulane has done, they're perennially a top group of 5 destination. If you want a group of 5 job, Tulane is one of those jobs. They run it as if they're not group of 5. Yeah, it's really 3 schools, right, that people talk about a lot. South Florida, which is ran really well. South Florida, Memphis, Tulane. Those are like the big 3 when you talk group of 5 in the Southeast. So yeah, I think now Kennesaw State wants to have a word about it, right? But right now, those are the big 3. Um, so I can see where there's going to be some type of synergy. It's going to be, and I urge you guys to just go look at Tulane staff because think about the last time. Look how many people came with Hugh Freeze. Look at how many people came with Brian Harsin. Look how many people came with Gus Malzahn. There are going to be guys from that Tulane roster and probably the support staff as well that are going to find positions in Auburn. And they may not all be on-field positions, but this is one thing about it. You can be a position coach at Tulane, be an assistant position coach at Auburn, and probably make the same thing or a little more. So I'd say, yeah, just some really interesting ties to the area that I wanted to put out there. Um, I think now, as far as Auburn coaches, a lot of people feel there's a lot of support for no matter what happens. There's a lot of support for Vontrell King Williams for sure. That's a guy who has a ton of support to be retained, regardless of what happens. From just hearing different circles, Marcus Davis is another guy who I hear a ton about, regardless of what happens. And now, of course, I don't know. It's just like I said yesterday, everybody's got sources, right? And I talked to a ton of people. Yeah, I graduated from Auburn 20 years ago almost. So of course, through our travels and working the beat in Auburn and talking to different writers and talking to different tailgaters and boosters, and you get a lot of information, and you just have to parse through it. And that's the same thing that I think as fans you can do too. But I think it's cool for us to talk about. So, is there anybody on Tulane's roster that you would like, or not Tulane's roster, Tulane's staff? Oh, that gave me an idea. Let's go look at the roster tomorrow. Let's go look at who's balling for Tulane. Because right now, I think the better favorite to get this job has to be Jon Sumrall at this point, and I think a lot of people would agree. It's just too much smoke, right? At this point. Now, this is not a prediction. This is just what the tea leaves are reading at this point. You never know what if Florida comes in with a Godfather type contract for Sumrall, and then you don't get a chance at him, right? A lot of people feel like Eli at Missouri would get Florida. I don't think, but I think right now this is a Jon Sumrall, DJ Durkin type race, and I think they've kind of come. I don't know, but a lot of people are saying that Durkin and Sumrall would be fine working in the capacity of Sumrall being a head coach and DJ being the DC. All right. So what are you hearing? Drop it in the comments. What would you like? And also drop in the comments people on Tulane staff that you wouldn't mind coming to Auburn. All right, guys, I appreciate it. That's my time.